Good morning, Bonneville County. This is Breakfast with Senator Cook. I am Idaho State Senator Kevin Cook from District 32 live on Facebook. I try to do this every Saturday morning at 10 a.m., especially while we're in session. So I welcome your comments, your questions, the issues that you're facing. Please feel free to text me, email me, or call me, whatever works best for you, and I will try my best to answer them and get back with you. So the first week of the 2023 legislative session is in the books. We're finished. We're done, at least for 1 week, the first week. So the question you might have is, what did you do? What happened this week? Well, I'll give you a quick rundown. Lots of required training on ethics, process of reviewing and approving administrative rules and workplace environment. So lots of training. However, we did do some important stuff. We have met on the floor, so the Senate floor, and assigned gubernatorial appointments to different committees. So in those committees, we'll interview those individuals, we'll vet them, and then return them to the Senate floor for confirmation. The Commerce and Human Resource Committee, that's the one that I am the chair of. We received, I think, about 6 or 7 different names to get approved, to get confirmation. And so we'll have hearings on many of those this week. In fact, so if you know these individuals, I would love to hear from you, whether you got good comments, bad comments, or no comments. So I've got Ms. Lori Wolf. She is up for reappointment to the Director of Division of Human Resource. Mr. Keith Reynolds, reappointed to the Director of the Department of Administration. Mr. Rod Higgins to serve on the State Insurance Board. Mr. Terry Gestrin to serve on the State Insurance Fund Board. Mr. Thomas Keeley, reappointed to the Director of the Department of Commerce. Ms. Patty Perkins, reappointed to the Director of the Department of Finance. And Ms. Janie Revere, appointed to the Director of the Department of Labor. So, again, if you know these people, I'd love to hear from you. Let me know what you think. Do we reappoint them? That's what my committee will be doing this week, as we talk with them and interview them. We'll look at what needs to happen if we're going to do a confirmation on them. So give me a text. Let me know. All right. So what happened? Another big thing that happened this week was the Economic Outlook Committee. We talked a little bit about that last week. The whole purpose of this committee is to come up with a revenue for 2024 and 2023 to say, okay, this is how much money we believe we have. Now build a budget around that money. Make sure we stay within that revenue. There are 10 representatives and 10 senators that serve on this committee. We listened for 2 days, testimonies and presentations of all kinds of different businesses from the private and public sectors. And so we heard lots and lots of testimonies. And then each member of this committee was then asked, given the information that we just received, what do you think our revenue will be for the state of Idaho for 2024? Again, it's this revenue that JFAC will take, and we'll build a budget around that. And hopefully we got the money at the end of the year. So based on the 20 members of the committee, the suggested revenue ranged from a low of $5,547.1 million to a high of $6,754.9 million. So that is a range. If you were to look at the range between them, that range is $1,191 million between the high and the low that this committee came up with. So according to the LSO budget office, they're the ones that are full-time budget analysts that work here, they said that most years the range is within a couple of $1 million but this year it was $1 billion. So why? Did we have a bad committee? Or we just didn't do our job? Why is it such a huge range? And I'll tell you why. At least my belief is we had lots of awesome presenters, and they were very, very good at what they do. And some of them were very optimistic. Go forward, spend, spend, spend. There is no recession. There is no inflation. Go ahead. We are doing awesome. And then, of course, you've got the others that are saying the sky is falling. So we heard some pretty polarized testimonies where we were at. So the governor, he was some say most pessimistic, but I like to say most conservative. His was most conservative. He came back with the low point, $5,547.1 million. What he believes our revenue that we'll take in for the state of Idaho in 2024. So the committee had a decision. We had the low range, the high range, and everything in between. What did we as a committee believe that our revenue would be? Because that revenue is what we'll give to JFAC. JFAC will either accept it or reject it or come up with their own, but that's the idea. And then they would have a budget. So as we discussed with the committee, one of the arguments for a higher revenue, they wanted to go higher, some of the members of the committee, and their argument is we have had record-breaking surplus the last 2 years. So we've had record-breaking revenues that have been coming in. We still have some of the COVID money to spend. If we make the revenue higher, then that will give us more money in our budget to spend on education, school buildings, childcare, housing, and transportation. So, it's not a bad argument, all right? But that was their argument. Okay, the argument for being more conservative and keeping the revenue low. One, we have a runaway federal government with no constraints on spending. That affects us. We have higher inflation and a looming recession on its way. 5 out of the last 6 months, the governor had missed his predicted revenue. Okay, it came in lower than expectations. So 5 out of the 6 times we missed it. And then again, if we keep the revenue low and we create a budget based on a low revenue, and the economy doesn't do well, then we have extra. Then we're not going to be laying people off or furloughing them. We're not going to be cutting wages or raising taxes. If we are wrong and the economy goes gangbusters the next 2 months, then we can revisit it in March and adjust our revenue. We don't have to stick with that, but right now that's where we're at. The other thing is if we are wrong and we have this huge surplus at the end of the year, like we've had the last 2 years, again, we can give that back to the taxpayers. We can take some of that and spend on transportation, education, childcare, wherever the legislative wants to do. A lot of people say, oh, you just blindly follow the governor. That committee is worthless. All you do is follow the governor. And I don't believe that. I believe that this committee was well worth our time. We learned a heck of a lot of information. We learned about the economy. We learned about recession and inflation and what's going on in the state of Idaho. I also think the governor has been working full time on this budget for more than 9 months. Looking at the economy and talking to experts, where we had 2 days. Okay, so anyway, we voted, and there was a few dissenting votes, but most of it was close. But most people voted for following the governor's conservative view, and so that's where we went. And so we will be going to the JFAC recommending that the revenue for 2024 will be $5,547.1 million. That's what we will be going forward with. Okay, Question of the week that I need your help with. I would love to hear from you on this. JFAC will be presented with a budget this week, asking the state of Idaho for $79.1 million to subsidize childcare. Now, this is federal money. It's not tax money or Idaho tax money. It is your money, though. It's going to the federal government, okay? And it's your grandchildren. They'll be paying for it. But it's $79.1 million to subsidize child care. And so there are 3 points that you need to know about this child care. One is the money will be spent for families where their income is 145% below the federal poverty level are eligible to receive grant money to go and pay for their child care. Okay? Part of this is a bill that will come forward to raise that limit from 145% to 175%, which will allow more families to get help from the state of Idaho to pay for child care. Second point, make financial grants available from the state of Idaho to expand existing and or start new child care businesses. Okay, so this would go to businessmen and women who want to expand their existing child care business or start a new one. Okay, and the third point is the Idaho State Department of Health and Welfare with this money, would continue to administer wage enhancements to child care employees. So the child care employees are saying they're not making enough money. It's really hard to keep employees in their child care business. So this would give extra money to them. So again, that's $79.1 million to subsidize the Idaho child care. I would like to know what you think about that. That will be coming up to vote. The budget will be presented to us. It won't come up to vote for probably another month. But anyway, love to hear from you. What do you think about that? Also, what else is on your mind? What are some of the issues? What are some of the things that I need to be representing you about? And so feel free to call, text, email, whatever you do, and I will get back with you. Have a great weekend, a great Saturday, and thank you. And talk to you next week. See ya.